Hey, what's going on, people? Hope you guys are doing well today. Want to welcome you to the Man to Man Let's Talk show on Facebook Live, baby. We have a fantastic show ready for you today, and I encourage you to write any questions that you may have in the comments because what we have going on tonight will be really, really exciting. Okay, I got my good friend, my soror, my classmate from college, and just a good friend of mine, Shareefah Nadir Mason from the great state of Louisiana, who will be joining us tonight. And we're going to go over a little bit about who she is. And it's going down for real. It's going down for real. But you here with Man to Man, Let's Talk. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Man to Man Let's Talk show on Facebook Live. Man to Man Let's Talk is a men empowerment organization that focuses on creating a safe place for men to talk, bring awareness to who we are and who we belong to, and know our responsibility to be what God has created us to be in the area where He has put us. So please go to www.m2mletstalk.com for more information on my organization. Hey, throughout the year, we have workshops, we have conferences, and Man Talk Saturday breakfasts once a month. The relationships are very important, and in order for us to build relationships, we we have to have these events more than just once a year. We do this, we have something going on every month, and we want all men to be connected. And ladies, please encourage the men in your life, in your network, to be a part of Man to Man Let's Talk. Okay. Man to Man Let's Talk is also on KYOK. Go to kyok.org. If you're not in the Houston area, it's AM 1140 to all new 92.3 FM. Every fourth Thursday of the month, Man to Man Let's Talk has a show. So check out the show. You can also follow us on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, the show is at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the fourth Thursday of the month. Man to Man Let's Talk is saturating the news feed on Facebook. We start off the first day of the week with a word from the Lord at 9 a.m. We pray on Monday morning. So if you have any prayer requests, please send it in at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings. We also have Hallelujah Hump Day, which is on Wednesday with me and my son, and Words of Empowerment on Friday as well. So if you can, please connect with Eugene Johnson Jr. That's your host. That's me. Connect with me. Follow me on that for your words of encouragement throughout the week. That's very important. Okay. So we also have a workshop coming up October the 24th, and we encouraging all men to participate and sign up for the workshop. The theme is make time. Hashtag make time. We want all men to make time to attend our workshop, and so we can get to know you. You can get to know us, and we do everything that we can to help each other be the best men that God has created us to be. We hope to see you there. Okay. You can also follow us by all means. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Man to Man Let's Talk. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and let's stay connected that way. So we'll appreciate your support in that area. Also, please share this link. Please share this video right now because what's about to take place is going to change my life. It's going to change your life, and it will change your friend's life when they hear about it as well. So share this video if you can. And I know you can because your share just might save somebody's life. All right. Listen, my guest, Shareefah Mason Nadir, awesome lady. Buckle your seatbelts. It's about to go down. She is a state of Texas master teacher, a 2020 presidential leadership scholar, member of the Texas State Board for Educator Certification, the founder of Color Ed Black and Brown, creator of the unprecedented program From the Hood to Harvard, research fellow contributing to the national work of the educational advocacy group Teach Plus, right? 2018, 2019 Teach Plus, Dallas Fort Worth Senior Policy Fellow. She's a distinguished teacher and ambassador in Dallas ISD, currently serves as the Social Studies Department Chair at A. Mason Smith New Tech High School. She has earned numerous awards, receiving recognition from national and state organizations, earning High honors from Dr. Tom and Betty Lawrence Foundation as runner-up for the National History Teacher Award and the Texas Sons of the American Revolution Teacher of the Year Award in 2015. Hold on, I'm not done yet. Okay, I got to read this because she is an exceptional contributor to the improvement of Zumwalt Middle School as a teacher leader and department chair in Accelerating Campus Excellence Initiative. That's the ACE program. She authored 4 books. Come on now. Authored 4 books on education and presents at renowned educational conferences across the country, including Council of Great City Schools and Advancing the Improvement in Education. That's the AIE, if you didn't know. She earned her bachelor's in government from Nicholls State University, Go Colonels, and her master's of organizational management from University of Phoenix, and is enrolled at California Coast University to pursue her doctorate in educational leadership. Are you serious? And that's just the beginning. She's also a mother of 2, a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. She loves boiled seafood. She's from the great state of Louisiana, and she comes straight from the good old New Orleans, Louisiana. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'll bring in my good friend, Miss Shareefah Nadir Mason. Hey, 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 Reefa. Hey, 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 girl. Girl, take that mute off. Let's hear your beautiful voice.
Don't know about beautiful, but I do have a voice.
Oh, what's up, Reefa?
What's happening? How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much. Now, we got to let people know. We got to let people know how we roll around here now. We just didn't just accidentally connect. You know what I'm saying? You know, we have a lot in common, and the reason why we bind it. So, this blue and white represents a lot. So, I'm just saying,
I have my royal blue blouse on.
ladies and gentlemen, you have Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta in the building. Now, I just want to let y'all know, Phi Beta Sigma, Z Phi B is the only true frat and sorority. Now y'all can take that how you want it, but we know, okay?
Constitutionally bounded.
Constitutionally, y'all better recognize. Girl, we're gonna change some lives today. I'm so glad that you're here with me this
Thank you
evening.
for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so let's get this started. Let's get this started and empower these people that have joined us this evening. So you're from the great state of Louisiana by way of New Orleans, and we met at Nicholls State University. And my question is, you could have chose any place in the great state of Louisiana. You chose Nicholls State. Why Nicholls State?
It's the weirdest thing. I wanted to go to Grambling, and then I found out how far Grambling was, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go that far. And my best friend Natasha, her sister Kiana, went to Nicholls State, and so I decided if she was there, I would know someone there. And then I had cousins there, uh, Shaban Wilson and Frank Wilson. I just had a plethora of cousins who attended the university, and I felt like it would be more of a family environment for me. Um, I grew up very close with my immediate family, so leaving wasn't necessarily something I was really excited to do. I did want the freedom, but I felt like when I went to orientation, it was the place for me. It was small enough and big enough for me to figure out who I was and still be close enough to home in case I messed up along the way.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I'm glad that you chose Nichols. Thank God that we connected.
I am too.
I'm just saying. So, government, you major in government. What was the driving force in majoring in government?
I was supposed to be a lawyer. And if anybody from Nichols is watching from our era, they know that I can debate with the best of them. I can hold my own. I'm very forthcoming in my opinions. So that was always a dream of mine. My dad wanted to be a lawyer, and that was kind of a shared dream and vision for me to execute something he couldn't do or did.
Mhm.
And so I was originally supposed to be a lawyer, but being a first generation college student, let alone college graduate, I didn't prepare myself before Nicholls State to become a lawyer. So I didn't know that I needed to be top in my class, Val Sal, top 10 in high school. I didn't understand the significance of that. I did really good in school. I went to school to Nicholls State on the Taylor Plan, which was a scholarship for students who earned at least a 21 on the ACT and had at least a 2.5 GPA. And so I went to school for free. Basically, they paid tuition, and we also received a $500 Project New Orleans stipend every semester. So I didn't feel like I didn't meet any, of my academic needs. I felt like I did what I was supposed to, even though I had a lot more in me. And so at that time, I was just doing enough really to get along. I could have done way more, but I did enough to make sure that I was able to go to school and not have too many loans and things like that. So when I went to Nichols, I majored in mass communication at first. And there was a professor there, Mr. Chasson, and he was really hard. And I was like, I think I'm going to switch and go into government because that's what I originally intended. And so maybe like junior year, I switched to government, and I came out in government in 99. Um, and I didn't have anywhere to go because I didn't have a great GPA. I think I finished undergrad with like a 2.58 or something like that. So I didn't have, the best grades. I hadn't applied to go to any law schools. I just didn't know what the next step was because, again, I was the first person to follow the path collegiately, and so I was just making mistakes as I was going. And then when I found out what I needed to do, I was really, really behind everybody else. And I'm one of those people who doesn't like finishing last. So I decided that I was going to put my law school hat away. And I went back to school in 2003 to get my master's in organizational management because during that time I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I started working. I lived in Houston for a couple of years and I started working the Mental Health, Mental Retardation Authority of Harris County, just trying to get my feet wet in different professional places to see exactly what it was that I wanted to do. So that was my story. I should have been a lawyer, should have been a Supreme Court justice. I just wasn't ready to navigate all of that at that time.
I hear you. You still got time. This right here is just the beginning. You building up
Right?
for that moment. So we're not gonna X that out just yet. You know what I'm
Not
saying?
yet.
Great, great. So tell me this. Were you in Louisiana when Katrina hit?
I actually was. I had just moved back home November uh 04, and Katrina hit August '05. So I just moved back home. I had just had my first daughter, who's 16 now. And so I moved back home because my parents wanted to be closer to my daughter. So went home, got situated. Katrina hit. I really wanted to be in Houston. I loved Houston. And so originally I was going to go back to Houston after Katrina. And my husband had cousins in DeSoto, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. And they invited us to come out. So I chose to go there because I knew Houston would be inundated and overwhelmed because most New Orleanians knew someone had family in Houston, and so I wanted to go a little further out. And we came to Dallas. And it was really interesting because the Dallas Independent School District had a free alternative certification program for Katrina evacuees. And anybody who knows me knows that I just love learning, period. So anything that I can do to enhance myself, I will try it at least. And I didn't have anything to do. It was 6 Saturdays from 8 until 5. And I was like, let me go and check it out. So I went and joined the program. And I had the pressure of finding my own position. So they allowed us to become teachers of record. We weren't certified just yet, but if we could find a job, then we could go through the certification process. And so I finished the program in October '05, and I didn't find a job until August '06. And August '06 is when I began my teaching career in the 75216 zip code, which is known as Southeast Oak Cliff, and it is the most impoverished area in Dallas. And so I've been there here in the zip code teaching for the last 14 years.
Awesome, awesome. So your curiosity led you to your current career right now.
Yes.
That's awesome. And so the thing that drove you to not only be where you are right now, but what did you see during that particular time that you said, you know what, I'm going to pursue this full time. I know I can make a difference in this area. So what was the driving thing that you made that commitment to say, this is where I'm going?
I wanted a job. I wanted a career. I knew that I worked really hard in college and I wanted to be seen as a professional. And I always had jobs, but they weren't necessarily career oriented. And I had not found my passion yet. I didn't know where I was going to end up. Just happened to interview at a school. The principal liked me, she hired me, and I didn't know what kind of impact I was going to make. I didn't even know very much about the community because um, poverty in New Orleans, in my opinion, looks a lot different than it does in a lot of other areas. When you look at a city like Dallas, Dallas is such a huge metropolis. So even those who are impoverished, it doesn't look to me as destitute as it does in New Orleans. And so I didn't know that the area was as bad as it was. I didn't know that it was as crime ridden. I didn't know about the unemployment rate. I didn't know very much about the schools and those schools being improvement required schools. You couldn't tell because all of the schools are really big and beautiful and they have historic appeal. So it wasn't something that was a dead giveaway. A lot of times when you're in different places in New Orleans, you are able to see immediately that the area is impoverished and that the people in that area are poor. And you really don't get that in other cities. It's not always something that's very immediate and blatant. So I didn't know where I was headed to. But when I got there, the connection was definitely strong and it was definitely immediate. I knew that I was in a place that I needed to be. And I knew that if I worked hard and enhanced myself and cultivated myself as an educator, that I was going to change lives. And that was extremely important to me.
Absolutely. And most importantly, your life was changed,
Yes,
through this and helping those individuals. And, to me, Texas is only floating good because they got a whole bunch of Louisiana folk around here. So I'm just
yes, yes,
I keep telling them that. I said, listen, y'all don't understand. We come over here for a reason. We come over here to make sure that we help you guys do the things that y'all supposed to do.
yes. We had to
And
sprinkle a little Tony Sasheries on. We did. Yes, we did.
yes, absolutely. So here's the deal. You've been in this for a while. At what point did you say, you know what, I'm gonna start writing more? I have this idea for this program, like from the hood to Harvard type of thing. At what point did you recognize that? And then talk about those programs that you are involved in that you started.
So I wrote my first book in 2010. And the reason that I did it is because I noticed that Dallas ISD was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars bringing speakers to different campuses, to different convocations, different events that we would have. And the one thing that speakers did not have was a true connection to the communities in Dallas. And I just couldn't understand why they wouldn't tap into their own talent within their district to figure out how they can make changes in the educational system that would actually matter. I didn't understand why they wouldn't activate their own teacher network, their own administrator network, and figure out what we were creating ourselves that was able to move the needle for students that had been deemed struggling learners. And so I wanted to see what my experiences could do to empower other people. So I started writing books, and then I started funding myself to go across the country to present at conferences. So I started answering calls for proposals and calls for presentations, started writing about my books and creating workshops based on my books. And in doing so, I was able to actually get traction and get accepted to these conferences. The only problem was I was having to foot the bill and pay for myself to go, which was fine because I wanted to invest in myself because I knew I had an amazing product. Um, and so I just started working from that because I came in as a first year teacher in 2006. And I'm a social studies history teacher. And my first assignment was Texas history. And I have never had Texas history. I've never heard of Texas history. I've only taken Louisiana studies. And so I get into the classroom and I blow the scores out of the water first year. And I knew then that it was not just my understanding of Texas history, but my ability to connect to these forgotten students, these students that people had already thrown away, these students who are impoverished, so people have already labeled as struggling, they've labeled them as unable to learn, they've labeled them as discipline problems. And coming from the city that I come from, I know how those labels manifest and how those labels determine pathways. And I refused to be a Black teacher who went into an environment of students that was predominantly Black and allowed them to connect themselves to those labels without giving them very viable, feasible avenues of understandings of themselves so that they can be empowered and understand that their address doesn't dictate their success. And so that model has carried me and my students over the last 14 years because I pump that into them because I know what education does for students, students of color, more explicitly for Black students and for impoverished students. I grew up impoverished. I know what it looks like when you are able to receive an education, able to become articulate, when you are able to become knowledgeable and diversify your skill set. And so I wanted to be that example because the students needed somebody who could speak to them in a way that would captivate them, but also in a way that would be authentic so that they would be able to really listen and receive what was being said. And when I felt that I had connected to that, I knew that I was in the place that I was supposed to be. And from that, I felt like I needed to continue to grow myself, that it was, my obligation to my students, to my culture, to my race, to my own daughters who were looking at me. I had an obligation to make sure I became the very best at what I did because I could not expect or set an expectation of excellence on students or my own biological children if I had not modeled that for them. So there's always been this pressure of being what I want them to achieve.
Ooh, can we just let that marinate for a minute? let,
I'm
let,
all over. I don't even think I answered your question. I am so sorry. I'm just
no, no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. To the people that's watching us live, if you have any comments, go ahead or questions for Shareefah. just hit it up in the comments, and we'll answer those questions. Now, you were talking about, how you saw to be that example, to set the tone. It's all about being the example that you want to see. You saw that, and you took advantage of that, and that led you not only to writing the books and funding for yourself to get into these areas where people will be able to benefit from the books that you wrote. They get to see the face that goes with the words in the book. But then, around these kids and having that impact on the kids, then at some point it led you to say, from good to Harvard, I got this. Can you talk a little bit about that program?
So from the hood to Harvard, I came up with the idea because I am a college graduate, right? And I have a master's degree. I'm working on my doctorate, and my daughters have an example at home that pushes them. However, most of the students that I encounter, they don't have that example. So what I've found is that most impoverished students, and most time most Black impoverished students, when they are intelligent and articulate, they are limited because they do not have the academic exposure and experience that their white counterparts have. And when our students are completing college applications, they don't have the academic resume or portfolio to substantiate why they should be accepted into some of the schools that we deem to be prestigious and distinguished. And so, what I wanted to do was give these students an opportunity to build those academic resumes and portfolios so that they could become more competitive with their white counterparts so that they could have their seat at the tables that they deserve. And what we're doing is creating an opportunity for students to learn how to navigate Ivy League school systems so that they can be confident regardless of the schools and colleges, universities that they attend, they'll be able to already have garnered a certificate from Harvard or Princeton or Yale or Stanford. And that will allow them to then go to HBCUs, put that on their applications, and stand out amongst all of the other students that are applying. And so, what I did with From the Hood to Harvard, which makes it so trailblazing, is I took the course first. I went through, I read all of the articles, I watched all of the videos, I took all of the quizzes, I wrote all of the reflections and all of the discussion boards. And then I created my own notes from that. And then I taught the class every Thursday for 4 weeks, 2 hours, and helped them navigate what would have been really intimidating and overwhelming and made it bite sized so that they were able to digest it and process it. And at the end, they were able to attain a certificate from Harvard in a family engagement and education course. And it was really important because these students and parents that participated in the program, it was 12 women, um, 11 Black women, and one white woman. And everybody had some sort of what we call at-risk characteristic. One woman was pregnant at the age of 16, grew up in an impoverished area. One woman had a first child, senior year of high school, never attended college. The students either grew up in an impoverished area or attended school their entire careers in impoverished areas. And so we really wanted to work with students and parents who needed that push, parents who needed to understand that if they embraced education, that would then in turn help their students to embrace education even more, and helping students to understand that breaking barriers and removing obstacles starts now. So a student that has attained a Harvard edX certificate is not afraid of a college class anywhere. She is not afraid, he or she, when we expand this program, will not be afraid to apply to the college or university of his or her dreams. And we want to start that as early as possible, because when we can plant that into our students and we can encourage them and motivate them to see beyond their immediate circumstances, that is where the empowerment lies. And so the whole purpose of this program is to make sure that students that are impoverished have the opportunity to start developing academic portfolios and resumes that rival other people in situations that are more financially astute and more financially diverse. And we want to give our students those same opportunities. So the Harvard courses, first of all, the system is all of the Ivy League universities and colleges across the world. There's Polytechnic in Japan, there's a university in Australia. Any of those Ivy League schools that you can think of across the globe are part of this community. And what we wanted to do was make sure that students had access to those schools. The classes are free, but the certificates that they receive cost. And the price of those certificates are anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on the courses that you take. But anything you could imagine, from mechanical ventilators to biochemistry to digital computer science to social work to education, social justice, everything that's important right now in this world as we navigate these two pandemics, everything that a student would need as a curricular magnet, anything that students would need as a prerequisite, those types of classes are available. So we are providing this service to students completely free. We had our first graduation this past Saturday, and it was absolutely amazing. We had caps for the students with the 2020 tassel. Their shirts read Harvard edX grad 2020. And just to see this group of young women who ranged in ages from 16 to 50, walking together, having gone on this journey together, building a community, people that don't know each other coming together, growing virtually every week, pouring into each other, collaborating with each other so that they can motivate each other to finish together was just an amazing feat. And I'm excited to continue this. I actually had a conversation before I got on with you with a local nonprofit here that is interested in locating investors and funding to bring this program to the next level. My vision for this program is for me to bring it home to New Orleans, to bring it to Chicago, to bring it to Flint, Michigan. I really want this program to be in places where we have been underserved, where we have been ignored, and where we have been denied educationally, academically, and socially. And so I really want this program to flourish into something that impacts students across the country.
Mm. Again, we gotta let it marinate for a minute, Shareefah. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. Now, you said women. Did they have any males that were participated in this?
No males in the first cohort. So this was my pilot. So I reached out to people that I've either taught or I have partnered with at different schools in the area, because I needed some firm scalability. And in order to get that, I needed people who I could really talk to about being committed to the program. That way I was able to work out kinks, figure out any type of tweaks and changes that needed to be made. And so this first program was all female.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, are you a one-woman show with this, or do you have a group of individuals that's helping you with this?
As far as putting the program together, taking the classes and doing all of the work, that's me. I do have a coworker, a former coworker by the name of Joe Young, who right now is putting together the media package so that we can start sending this out to different investors and funders. He came and filmed the entire graduation. He's taking all of our pictures. So we had this, I came up with this idea for the graduation photos. All of the young ladies and women came in white t-shirts. And so the first photo was in a white t-shirt, and it held up their actual at-risk statistic. So I had my first child at 16, is what one of them held up. The second photo was them ripping the statistic in half, still in the white t-shirt. The third photo was them in their black Harvard edX grad 2020 shirts with their certificates in hand. And so it was a progression of what it is that we want people to see. These labels do not have to confine you. There are ways for you to eradicate these labels, these barriers, these boundaries can be crossed. But we have to do a better job of putting programs into our communities that are actually touching the people that need the assistance. We have a lot of shiny programs with big names and people that are affiliated with them, but they are not touching the people who need them most. And so my commitment to this program is that it will always be ran with the utmost fidelity and integrity, and we will be working with the communities that need these types of incentives, and those communities that will grow and benefit from these types of opportunities.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Listeners, I hope you guys are listening to this. I'm telling you, if you want to be a part of something astounding, you have to connect with Shareefah and whatever funding, boots on the ground, whatever teachers. If you're listening and you want to be a part of this, you need to be connected. The more support we have, doesn't matter, black, white, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It's all about helping the kids who need us. This is our time. This is our responsibility to be able to help the children who are the future. And so we want to make sure that we leave this place better than the way that we came into this place, and that's our responsibility.
It
And so,
is.
one of the things that you have the Color Ed Black and Brown program. Share some information about that.
So I am a 2020 Presidential Leadership Scholar, and I am the very first teacher to ever be selected. So now I get to say not only am I the very first teacher, I'm the very first Black teacher, because there's never been a teacher and I'm Black. So I hold both of those historic titles. Um, and what's great about Presidential Leadership Scholars is that I am in a group of 60 cohort members from across the country. And just to tell you the depth of this program, um, Hannah Gordon, which is one of my cohort members, is the legal counsel for the San Francisco 49ers. One of my cohort members is the CEO of the Dallas Racial Hurt and Trust Transformation Group here. He does amazing work. Jerry Hawkins, he does amazing work on creating racial balance, because Dallas, for those who don't know, is one of the most racist cities in the country. Dallas ISD, the district that I work for now, was the last district in the entire country to desegregate its schools. After Brown versus the Board of Education, it took Dallas ISD 13 years to desegregate its schools. The ruling was in 1954, and 13 years later was when our schools here in Dallas were finally desegregated. So yeah, that it's when you learn the history here, it runs very deep. The largest Ku Klux Klan chapter was here in Dallas. So there's a lot of history here with race. And so just to speak to the people in my cohort, one of my cohort members, Justin, he is the vice president of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, and his wife foundation. So these people are big wigs across the country in really high places. And I stepped into the room with these people, and the first meeting that we had, I spoke about how intimidated I was because I was just a teacher. And these people were CEOs and vice presidents and COOs of the largest organizations in the world, not just the country, but the world. And the feedback that I got from them about how every time I spoke, they needed to listen, and they were taking notes because of the passion and the knowledge that I had and the diversity that came along with what I did, having that understanding put me into a different feeling about myself. I've always been confident in what I know, but being a teacher and the way our profession is not has not been as distinguished as it should be and respected as it should be. When you get into a room with other people, you do not feel as empowered as you should. And so, working alongside them, I felt like I had the tools necessary to start my own organization. And so, I've been doing a lot of work over the last 4 years with the national group Teach Plus, and all of my work has been dedicated to diversifying the teacher pipeline. For those who don't know, the teacher pipeline in America is 80% white, and that does not mirror the cultural mosaic of our students in our schools. More than 50% of our students are students of color and are Black and brown students, yet 80% of the white force is white. And so my job right now is to diversify their teacher pipeline. And when I speak about diversifying the teacher pipeline, I want to be really, really explicit that that does not mean making white teachers extinct. It doesn't mean that white teachers don't matter. But what it means is that we cannot continue to underserve our Black and brown students. We have to make sure that our teacher pipeline reflects cultural mosaic that makes up our public school system here in the United States. And so I've been writing op-eds. I have presented at several conferences. I'm writing a national paper entitled Dear White Teachers right now to address some of the 5 key points that we need white teachers to understand when they are educating Black students. The New Teacher Project did this amazing 3-year study entitled The Opportunity Myth that exposed how white teachers do not hold high expectations for Black students, that they coddle Black students, in a way to try to make up for some of the past wrongs. And what we need is for our students to have high expectations so that they learn how to reach higher heights. And so we need to empower the white teachers that are in the classroom, because it's going to take us about 5 to 10 years to really diversify this teacher pipeline. So those teachers that are in the classrooms now, we need to make sure that we prepare them with what they need so that they're successful with our students while we work on diversifying this teacher pipeline and meeting the needs of our most vulnerable populations.
Okay, again, we gotta let this man in. That's awesome, man. That is amazing. So I know you're talking about with the current teachers right now, but what about those individuals who want to be teachers? This program will be able to reach them, and so they're already embraced into those teachings when they first year teachers. They know they have a better idea of what to expect, and not waiting later on.
Absolutely, that's an amazing question. I'm ready to partner with ed prep programs, with, of course, ISDs, with districts across the country, because this information is very global. What we need to understand is that not only do we need to make sure that our white teachers understand, they need to bring to the table, we need to make sure that our Black and brown teachers understand their significance and their importance in the lives of the students that look like them. So for me, this work is about making sure that we don't just diversify the pipeline, but that we have the most effective teachers in front of our students. And that is what's most important. What we have to always remember is it's easy to attract someone to the career. It's harder and more challenging to make them become committed enough to take on their own cultivation and their own growth, and to become the best teacher that they can for the students in which they're in front of. Like I tell people all of the time, all students deserve great teachers. All students deserve great teachers. But there is data that proves that all students learn best from Black teachers. And so we need to make sure that we know that as Black teachers, our worth and our value, and that we are going into these classrooms and not failing students. and we are empowering students. We are becoming diverse with our skill set, and we are innovative and engaging so that our students want to come to school. They want to come to our classrooms. And so that's what Color Ed Black and Brown is all about, taking our rightful place in this amazing career space, but making sure that we have the multidimensional skill set that we need to be the best teachers that we can, so that we can not only empower students, but we can empower the white teachers on our campuses and make sure that they are giving our students everything that they need to be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are one of the things that you notice from the top on down, the one who is responsible for the education department in the United States of America, that uh, that you know that, hey, these things need to be addressed in order for us to be successful teachers. So what are some of those challenges that you as a teacher is facing with that?
The first challenge and the first problem that I have with Betsy DeVos, who's our U.S. Secretary of Education, is just the fact that she is continuously placing charter schools in impoverished areas that are failing our students, and that there is not a focus on revitalizing neighborhood schools and putting funding into those schools so that we can bring pride back to our communities. The schools and the churches were the strongholds of Black communities. And when those entities started losing their connection to the communities, is when we started to see such tremendous changes in our communities and disconnects in our communities. So when you look at the school and you remember that all of your family members went to one school, and now in a place like New Orleans, my niece has to get up and stand outside at a bus stop in the dark in order to be bused across the city when there's a school around the corner and down the street. You have to start taking a look at those things. You have to understand how those things present obstacles that would deter students from wanting to learn, and make students not want to be connected to the education because they don't understand why education has to be such an inconvenience. And if we can't continue to work together to figure out, if we're going to use this charter system, how we're going to make it something that's sustainable and something that is going to work for our students, then we need to find out how we eradicate them. What they've done is and I know here in Texas, they've placed a lot of big, beautiful, shiny buildings and really nice Catholic school-like uniforms on these students, and these students have regressed 2 and 3 grade levels a year because the teachers are not certified. They do not know how to handle impoverished students. They don't understand what it's like to teach with poverty in mind. They do not know how to make the connections with the students, build relationships, and we are failing these kids at an alarming rate. Yet we're still building these schools. These systems are still intact. They're still being implemented year after year after year. So that is my biggest issue with Betsy DeVos. The next issue is funding, and how she takes funding away from public education and gives it to privatized education, when the whole purpose of a private education is for donors to come from other sectors other than taxpayer dollars, so that those schools can operate outside of the public school rules and requirements. Students that attend private schools do not take the same standardized tests that students in public schools do. So if they don't take those tests and they're not held to that same requirement, then we should not have to share our funding with private schools. That's another thing that she has done. She's allowed private schools to come into a pot that is already oversaturated, and there's already too many of us digging into one pot, and she's allowed private schools to now take CARES Act funding after the COVID pandemic and utilize it for private schools, which is not what it's supposed to be for. So just to me, the mishandling, misappropriation of funding, the the I'm going to do what I want to because I'm in this position attitude, the complete disregard for impoverished students, complete disregard for Black students in this administration is just, it's unacceptable. And we cannot continue to allow a person to operate in that position when this person has never attended a public school, her children have never attended a public school. They all attended private schools. So how do we allow someone who does not even understand the intricacies of the public school system be at the helm of the public school system in this country? And if we don't see a change and we don't see an upward trajectory for our public school systems, then why are we allowing this disservice to continue?
And then the numbers, if it doesn't flow like it's supposed to, then it's going to look bad on those who have good intentions of doing well and say, see, it didn't work. And then they're going to potentially take those funds and put it where they want to put it anyway. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
So we
absolutely correct.
so yeah, we have a lot to consider when it comes to local and national officials who are in positions that we put in the office, that we make the right decisions and
Absolutely.
know what they stand for, and it's just right around the corner, and it doesn't hit home all at once. It's a little bit at a time. So we have to make sure that we do everything that we can to research the individuals that are in office and to bring forth the facts, just like you did. So
Absolutely.
I think that's very important, and I believe that if anybody have any questions or anything in reference to that, this link will be available on YouTube, Man to Man Let's Talk channel. You can always post a comment there, and Shareefah will be able to answer that comment. And so let this marinate in your spirit, and and be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. We're not up. It's not about debating. It's about the solution. Come with your
Absolutely.
solution. You have concerns, bring solutions with your concerns. Okay. So
Absolutely.
that's my encouragement to our listeners, to make sure that they know, don't just come with just one-sided stuff. You got to come with some documentation, come with some data, and come with some answers, and be ready to work.
Yes. Yes. You
Be
have to be
ready to work.
solutions oriented and you have to have actionable items. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So this is one of the things that really excited me when I talked to you. About the what is it called, that you did in the class with the envelopes
Oh,
to educate uh, the children on the differences. I can't think of the word. Rifa, what's the word? It was a help
well,
me out.
I was at the unveiling of the new teacher project's opportunity myth. And as I stated earlier, it showed that white teachers were not setting the same high expectations for Black and Brown students as they were for their white students. And so what I did was I got some white envelopes and some brown envelopes. I typed up two paragraphs on the same reading. One paragraph was very short and had three questions. One paragraph had a lot more information and had the same three questions. And so I passed out the envelopes throughout the room, and I gave the audience, which was predominantly white, about 3 minutes to read the passage and answer the questions. And so as I'm scoping the room, you can see the people on one side of the room really trying to figure out what the answers are, and you can see the other people on the other side of the room easily answering the questions. So after the 3 minutes expired, I called everybody back to the whole group and I started asking the questions aloud. And one side of the room was struggling to answer the questions. The other side of the room was able to answer the questions with ease. The side that couldn't answer could not figure out why they couldn't answer the questions correctly. So we get to the third question, And at this point, the side of the room who was struggling was just, they were just like, what is going on? Some of them had read the passage before, they were familiar with it, and they were like, we're missing some things. So after we read the third question and answered it, I asked everybody in the room to hold up their envelopes. One side of the room was all brown envelopes, the other side was all white. This gave them a visual of what we were doing in the classroom. Inside the brown envelopes was the really short passage, right? Because I'm coddling my Black and brown students. I am not giving them too much because I think they can't handle it. I don't want to give them too much. I don't want to frustrate them. But we're constantly giving the white students the long paragraphs with all of the information so that they get the answers right. And at the end of the year, when we test the Black, the brown, and the white students, they all take the same assessment. So when we're not giving them the information that they need to be successful, then coddling becomes confinement because they cannot pass to the next grade. They cannot build their academic confidence when they are not academically savvy. And so my purpose in executing that activity was to show the very large group of white people in the room that our students fail when you coddle them. They don't grow from that. We understand that you feel that you have to give them a little bit more, but give them a little bit more academically. Empower them academically. Do not be afraid to challenge them, but also you have to understand that you have to meet them where they are. You have to build their academic confidence. You have to teach them the skills of analyses, of synthesizing. You have to give them the opportunity and the skill to learn how to really break things down. And when you do that, then they will be able to take the paragraph, the long paragraph, and answer the questions. So we have to figure out a way to share with all teachers, but most importantly, our white counterparts, that coddling is not working for our students because, again, it becomes confinement. It stifles them. It is something that prevents them from eradicating the overwhelming achievement gap that is stopping them from being successful holistically. And we have to figure out a way to do that collectively.
And once again, we just let that marinate. I'm consistent, Reefa. I'm consistent.
You are very much so.
Ooh, listen, that we have got a lot on the plate, and we definitely empowered people this evening with the information that you shared. And I just want to let our listeners know this won't be the first or the last time that we do this. That we're going to do this quarterly updates of what's going on, so we can continue to keep you guys in the loop of what we are going through and what Shareefah and her program is doing, and any way that you can help in funding, boots on the ground, to be a part in your area, that you're able to connect with Shareefah, and everything else will take care of itself. So as we come to a close, I would love for you to share some words of empowerment to our listeners. So when they go to bed tonight, not only the stuff that you shared with them before, but the things that will help them as they lay their head in comfort, and also will start their day off with what you said. If you can leave some words of encouragement for our listeners.
Thank you for that. What I would like to tell everybody listening and everybody watching is that we have an obligation to change what can be changed in this world. And right now, as we face these two pandemics, one dealing with health and the other dealing with race, we've never been so naked. We've never been so transparent. And so, right now is the time for us to collaborate, to work together. It's not the time to ostracize and isolate. It's the time to collectively figure out what it is that we can do, but we have to be authentic in that collectivity. We have to come together. We have to be respectful of each other, but we also have to be honest about what has happened in the past, what's happening now, and how we can work together to change that. Uh, I want to leave you all with something that one of my friends, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt from New Orleans, always says, which is when the least of us succeed, then the best of us are truly the best. So when we put in place systems that will allow impoverished students, Black students, brown students to be able to reach their fullest capacity, then the world is a great place. We continue to say that we live in the greatest nation in the world, but the greatest nation has killed Black people for no reason. The greatest nation has stifled Black people for no reason. And we have to stand up and say no more. We have to stand up collectively, everybody, white, Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian. We all must come together to work together to eradicate these issues. We cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone. And we no longer have the veils covering our faces. So it's time out for pretending you don't see what's going on. You can no longer pretend that you should not be acknowledging all of the disparities that have been made very, very presently clear. Let's work together. Let's join in. Let's figure out how we can start small within our communities and build this into some larger networks and systems that can really change this country. We could live in the greatest nation in the world if we take back our country, if we start to bring our morals and ethics back into our everyday living, and if we start to work together and connect with each other in authentic and organic spaces and work together.
Mm. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shareefah Nadir Mason. Yeah!
I can't.
Oh, that was awesome, man. That was so awesome. Listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight and empowering all the people that listen this evening. And can't wait till the next time that we do this. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna just put you in the waiting room. We're gonna chat a little bit more. The after party. I ain't got no sense.
None,
So,
none at all.
ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Shareefah Nadir Mason. And continue. Is there any way that people can follow you, stay in contact with you, or whatever before we leave, Shareefah?
I am Shareefah Nadir Mason on Facebook. I am at Mason Messages on Twitter, which I'm not very active. I have to do better. And I am Color Ed _black_ and brown, I believe, on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'll post
Yeah.
it on the link.
Yes, yes. Post it. So
I have
stay.
to do better with
Uh,
social media.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, we thank you so much, and people, y'all stay connected with Shareefah. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We thank you so much, Shareefah.
Thank you.
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a phenomenal experience with my good friend Shareefah. If you have any questions or comments, please share that information in the link. This will be on YouTube. Upload it. I encourage you to share the link so other people will be empowered. And please continue to have the right mindset with a plan in place to be able to execute what we all trying to do, bring people together, help those who are in need, and to empower and educate those who are not getting the same empowerment and education. And so you know who you are to be able to help out in that area. We encourage you to do so in the area where it's needed. This is just a beginning, family. And I appreciate every one of you guys for tuning in. And I encourage and challenge you to share this video on Facebook. Keep sharing it because your share just might save somebody's life. And that is real. This is Eugene Johnson Jr. with Man to Man Let's Talk. Remember, we have a workshop October the 24th. We want all men to be present. We encourage all ladies to share the information to the men in your network. Our goal is to help one man at a time. And so as the men go, so as our household goes, so as our country goes, so as this world goes. So help us be the best that God has created us to be. All right. Man, we love you guys so much. Next week, we're going to have another great speaker, Mr. Jason Frazier. Jason Frazier from the Friendship Church. You don't want to miss it. He's going to break it down as well. As we have fun on the Man to Man Let's Talk Facebook Live show. I love you all. And if it's the Lord's will, we shall do this again. I want you to stay focused, stay in your lane so you can stay the course. And remember, in order for us to be great, we must communicate because God has a purpose for you, just like He does for me. So there's really no need for us to compete. There's enough air for us to breathe, which means that there's enough blessings for us to receive. And I challenge and encourage you to ask yourself this question. In all the things that you do, if the answer to your why does not include God, then why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Think about that as you go to sleep at night and the powerful words from Miss Shareefah. And then hopefully, if it's the Lord's will, you see tomorrow and go out and make a difference. Be the example that you want to see and help someone because they're waiting on you to help them. All right. I love you guys. Take care. Man to man, let's talk.